Hello and welcome back to 11.2 Solving Linear Systems by Substitution. We'll be starting on page 25, and here we go. So here it says solve the system of linear equations by substitution, and they give us two equations. The coach whistles tells us to try to solve the first equation for the y variable. Now as you can see here, the reason we chose this one is that y is by itself, so to speak. There's nothing next to the left of y. However, there is a 3x we might need to move. Whereas if we had chosen, let's say, possibly, if we had chosen the second option, it would be a little bit more complicated, a few more steps to actually solve for y. So we're going to use the space right here where it says solve step 1. We're going to use that space to solve this first equation for y. So I'll start by writing down the equation. Essentially, I'm just copying that down. Drawing a line right down the equal sign because we're going to move some stuff. We're going to get y by itself. What's the opposite of a positive 3x? A negative 3x. So, 3x, take away 3x is just 0. Cancels out. And I'm left with y equals. Now you'll notice here that a lot of students tend to want to put this together. In fact, a lot of students in class said it's 11x. Because negative 3 has an x and the 14 doesn't, we're going to keep them separate. Keep unlike terms separate. So negative 13x will go first and the plus 14 will go second. I put it as a plus 14 because it's positive. Then it says use parentheses to substitute for y in the second equation. So notice how I'm highlighting the second equation, and I'm going to copy it down, leaving a space for y. I'm going to plug in, instead of just that blank space, I'm going to plug in negative 3x plus 14. And we're going to multiply what's outside to what's inside the parentheses. So that negative 6 is going to be multiplied to negative 3x and the positive 14. Take a moment and do that now. And unpause. Hopefully you got positive 18 and negative 84. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to combine like terms. We're going to put our x terms together. So what would 2x plus 18x be? Hopefully you got 20x. Notice how I bring everything down after I finish each step that didn't change. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to move that negative 84 to the right. What's the opposite of a negative 84? Positive. So we're going to add that to both sides. That cancels out, and we're left with 20x equals, what is 84 take away 24? And that would be 60. So think about it. Let's get rid of 20 by being multiplied to x by doing the opposite, which is to divide. So take a moment right now and let's go ahead and work that out. What would 60 divided by 20 be? And hopefully you're working that out and found that x is 3. Alright, so now you're like, we're done, right? Well, we have step 3 and 4 because you'll notice our solution is actually an ordered pair. We have to find an answer for x and for y. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this space where it says substitute the expression from step 2, in this case y equals negative 3x plus 14. So I'm going to write this down, only I'm going to leave a space for x now that I know what x is. So I'm going to plug in 3 because that's what we got here. And let's take a moment, let's multiply that out. And hopefully when you did this you got a negative 9, and if we combine like terms, what would y equal? That would be about 5. So essentially our answer here would be x is 3 and y is 5. This is the point in which both of these lines will cross or meet. On the next question on page 27, it says solve a real-world problem by using the substitution method. So, a standard rectangular highway billboard has a perimeter of 124 feet. The length is 34 feet more than the width. Let L represent the length and W represent the width. The system of equations are as follows. Find the length and width. So step 1, we're going to kind of decide which one of these seems easier to solve for L. The top one or the bottom one. Well, as you can see from the coach, the second equation is already solved for L, so we really don't have to do much. In fact, that was easy. At least for step 1, we didn't have to solve much. Now, for step 2, we will take the other equation that we didn't use, in this case 2L plus 2W equals 124. We're going to rewrite that. And instead of writing L, I'm going to leave it blank because we're going to plug in that 34 plus W. And that's what substitution means. We're just replacing a letter with something else. We're going to multiply the outside number, in this case 2, to what's inside. So that would be 2 times 34 and 2 times W. And unpause. Hopefully you got 68 and 2W. Alright, let's go ahead and combine like terms and take a moment and work that out. And unpause. Hopefully you got that to be 4W. Notice how I bring everything down from the previous step. Make sure you're doing that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to move that 68 to the right. Think about it. What's the opposite of a positive 68? Negative. Notice how that's going to cancel out, and I'm left with 4W equals, what's 124 take away 68? 56. All right. Let's get rid of the 4 that's being multiplied. What's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by 4, and W will be equal to what? 14. All right. So again, that's step 2. Now that we know what W is, we're going to write down our second equation, L equals 34 plus W. And now that we know W is 14, let's go ahead and figure that out. And unpause. Hopefully you found that to be 48. So the length would be, and width would be accordingly 48 for the length and 14 for the width. All right, let's move right along to the checkpoint. We're already there. Wow. So it says a man's age is 5 years more than 3 times his son's age. The sum of their ages is 37. Well, it makes sense that there would be an age difference, right? Let X represent the father's age and Y represent the son's age. The system of equations is as follows, which can be used to represent the situation. How old is the son? How old is the father? So first things first, we're going to choose which one of these is already solved out for X. First one or the second one? The first one, right? It's already, X is already by itself. Again, that was easy. I love these kind of questions because it's like, oh, step 1's already done for us. Now, on to step 2. So now I'm going to write down the equation that we didn't use, X plus Y equals 37. Again, I'm going to leave a blank for X. And instead of writing X, I'm going to write 3Y plus 5, which is what X is equal to. All right, let's combine like terms. What would 3Y plus 1Y be? 4Y. All right, notice how I bring everything else down that didn't kind of leave that plus 5 still there, the equal sign, and 37. All right, let's move that 5 to the right. What's the opposite of a positive 5? Negative 5. That's going to cancel out, and we're left with 4Y equals, what would that be? 32. So that 4, it's being multiplied. What's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So we'll divide both sides by 4, and Y is equal to what? 8. So now that we know one of the ages, which I'm guessing is the son, because that's a pretty low number, we're going to take our other equation. Now you could use either one, just so you know. You can have used x plus y equals 37, or you could use the top one, whichever you choose. I chose the first equation, but either one you use, you'll get the same answer. So x equals 3, parentheses for y, plus 5. So instead of y, I'm going to put in 8. Go ahead and take a moment and work this out. What's 3 times 8? 24, and 24 plus 5 would be what? 29. So that means the boy's age is about 8, and the boy's age is about 8, and the father's age is about 29. All right. So if you need help with any of the homework that you see before you, please feel free to come into the center. There's only about 4 problems, which is kind of nice. But if you do need some support, there's some on the screen for you. But if you do need additional support, please feel free to come into the center. So there's another question, and another question, and of course the last question. Like I said, if you do need support, please come to your center, ask for help with your tutors and teachers, and I hope this was helpful. Take care.